We're gonna start with this incredible baked potato, and it's actually a sweet potato. So these are all of the ingredients that you're gonna need. So we're gonna start off by washing our potatoes, and once they're washed, I just pat them dry. And then I'm taking some vegetable oil and putting it on the potatoes, and then sprinkling these sweet potatoes with black salt and popping them in the oven at 400 degrees. So then I'm gonna grate some lemon rind, pour a fourth cup of yogurt, do a pinch of cumin and turmeric, stir those together, and then rinse all of my other vegetables. So I'm cutting up my apple, and I tried to start like grinding or whatever you call it, my veggies. I couldn't do it, so this is where Dan hopped in. And he actually grated all of the veggies in the apple into the bowl. Then we added some lemon, some olive oil, some coarse sea salt, pepper, and then I toasted the pumpkin seeds and the sunflower seeds just for about 2 minutes, and then I added in a little dollop of maple syrup. This stuff smelled and tasted amazing. So once my potatoes were done cooking, after about a half hour, I pulled them out of the oven and I cut a cross down the center and took a fork and kind of smashed them open a little bit. Then took a dollop of the yogurt, the salad, poured the seeds on top, the arugula, and voila. So here we go. Bon appetit.
What else do you want some?
Dude.
Mine.
Dude, that's so good.
Usually when I eat baked potatoes, I put so much sour cream in, so much butter. With this, you have all these other things in there that make it taste good. You don't need it to be wet. You don't need to take that much.
Sorry, baby. Success! On to recipe number 2. This is pan-seared steak with butternut squash and green bean almondine, I think that's what you call it. So these are all the ingredients you're gonna need, and I'm spreading out my butternut squash onto a pan with some olive oil, and we peeled off the leaves from the thyme, chopped it up, put it with the butternut squash with some salt and pepper, and put it in the oven at 350. Now, while those were cooking, I cut off the stems from the green beans, and then while I was doing that, Dan started cooking the steak on the stove top, and then about halfway through the butternut squash cooking, about 15 minutes in, I pulled it out of the oven and added the green beans to the mix, popped those back in, and he took the steak off the stove. So then it was time to make the sauce for the steak. So we added a fourth a cup of water, the vegetable stock, some thyme and parsley, a tablespoon of butter, let that simmer, and then voila. So when he cut open the steak, he realized it was still kind of raw. So he popped all the individual steak pieces back on the stove top to cook a little more, and then we pulled the green beans and butternut squash out of the oven, added the almond slivers to the mix, plated the dish, put the sauce on top, added a little more parsley, and voila. All right, everyone, bottoms up. I'm pretty excited. Dad, do you like it? So good, huh? Alright guys, so moving on to this last meal, I want to say that this one was my favorite, but honestly watching all the footage, I don't know because all the meals were so good, but those are all the ingredients you're going to need, and I started off by preparing a pot of boiling water, and while that was boiling, I cut up my zucchini lengthwise and then diced it up into little pieces like so, and then I diced up an onion into little pieces. So once my water was boiling, I popped the pasta into the water, diced up some lemons into little wedges, and then Dan took the sausage out of the casing to pop it on a pan and cook that up like so. Then I put my vegetables onto a pan with some garlic and olive oil, and then when the noodles were done, we dumped out the water, you know, did what you do with noodles, and then we put some thyme and crushed pepper into the vegetable mix, and then dumped the crushed tomatoes in there as well, followed by the noodles, and then mixed it all together with the sausage. So once we dished the pasta into the bowl though, it's not complete because we put some Parmesan on top, some lemon, and bam, delicious.
Pasta lover, so.